Okay. Okay, well, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us. Again, before we begin, we would like to acknowledge that Brampton Library is located on the treaty territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and before them, the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Huron, and Wendat. We also acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and other global Indigenous people that now call Brampton their home. We are honored to live, work, and enjoy this land. So my name is Megan Gilpin. I'm a diversity and adult services librarian with Brampton Library, and I'm really happy to be moderating this fourth and final part of our job skills series that we've been doing for the past month and a bit with job skills. So I'm joined today once again by Kwadwo Uranki. Kwadwo is a facilitator with Job Skills Employment Services. He's an engaging and energetic speaker with proven expertise in motivating clients of all ages. His over 10 years frontline experience includes job coaching, career counseling, curriculum development, training, and working with diverse clients across job skills and local communities. We're excited to have you join us today for this fourth session in our four-part job skill series. We're going to be learning all about video interviewing. And if you missed last week's session, which was more generally about interviewing, it's on Brampton Library's YouTube channel, so you can check that out now. So leave your questions and comments in the chat box if you're joining us through Eventbrite or Webex, or leave a comment if you're watching us right now on Facebook Live. So again, as I always say, we love your questions and comments, so please do not be shy. Please also note that there will be a recording of this session as well, posted to Brampton Library's YouTube channel in the coming days, so you can check out the recording if you missed anything. So for those of you who registered through Eventbrite today, I'll be emailing a resource list that Kwadwo has put together after this session is over. And if you're viewing this on Facebook Live or YouTube and you'd like those resources sent to you as well, just email events@bramptonlibrary.ca to request it, and I'll be sure to send it your way. So without further ado, I'm very pleased to introduce, sorry, it's a tongue twister today. I'm very excited to introduce and pass the mic over to Kwadwo, who will be taking us all into the world of video interviewing.
Thank you so much, Megan, and welcome everyone. And I hope you're going to enjoy the session as usual. Thank you. Next slide. So here's how we're spending our time based on the agenda. So the welcome introductions has already been dealt with. So in a moment, Megan's going to explain Webex's key features. And then I'll cover the workshop objective. Once again, Megan will talk about Brampton Library services. And then I'll talk about what we do at Job Skills in providing an overview. And number 6, I'll talk about our welcome centers briefly, just in case if you know family members or friends who can take advantage. And then number 7, we'll get into the employer statistics relating to video interviewing. Number 8, we'll talk about video interview styles. We'll talk about the recorded interview, the video conference. Megan, are you able to?
Unfortunately, I can see that looks like it's off at the bottom, but I
Oh,
can't get
okay.
that. I'm sorry, Kwadwo.
Okay, so let me see here, just to ensure that I'm providing the agenda. So bear with me, friends. Also, I will be talking about, once again, number 7, video interview styles. I'll also be talking about recorded interview, video conference, and then we'll talk about the pros and cons to video interviewing. And then we'll talk about the tips to prepare for video interviews. And then I'll provide some resources. And number 11, or our final point, would be the contact information. Thank you. Megan, over to you.
Okay, so just some basics of Webex for those of you who are joining us on Webex. Please remember to mute yourself from the bottom toolbar during the workshop. You're all automatically muted, but you can unmute yourself. So if you accidentally click that little microphone, please click it again, and turn off your video camera prior to the start of the workshop, which I believe you all have done. And then click chat to activate the chat window. So that's at the upper right-hand corner. and you can send a message to all attendees or to specific people. You can also use the raise hand feature if you want to say something, which is under reactions on the bottom toolbar. But again, it's probably best to just use the chat if you have anything to say. If you want to use the closed captions, click on the CC icon on the bottom left of the screen. So you'll see a little CC, you click on that, and that will activate closed captions. And if you decide you no longer want it, just hit the X at the top right of the words, or the script, I guess you could say, as it's as we're speaking, and that will get rid of it.
All right, thank you, Megan. So in terms of the workshop objectives, by the end of today's session, we're hoping to accomplish these three key components. So firstly, we'll understand recorded and video conference interview styles. Then secondly, we'll know the pros and cons of video interviewing. And then finally, we'll wrap up by understanding tips and tricks to prepare for a video interview. Next, please.
So just some announcements about the Brampton Library. All branches are open right now for curbside pickup. We don't have any in-branch services happening at this time. Also, new this year is our new app, which is a really much easier way to navigate our website and your account on your mobile device. So you just go to your App Store, your Google Play Store, and search Brampton Library. You'll recognize our logo, which is down on the bottom left-hand side there, and I highly recommend it. We've got lots of virtual programs going on as usual. We have our book clubs up for discussion, Connections, which is through PAMA, which will be resuming again in June. We have an end of the winter book club happening in a couple of weeks, and we have our Pride Book Club, which is run in partnership with Moyo Health and Community Services. We also have access to Luna Fest, which is a women's art festival, which is all virtual this year, of course. That's through a partnership we have with Hamilton Public Library, and we're streaming it for free to our customers. So check out our Eventbrite page or our website for more information about that. We have our at-home trivia, which happens the second Tuesday of every month. So that'll be oh, and I should also say LunaFest launches on the 8th of this month, so next week. At-home trivia also is next week, our monthly program. And spring break programs, of course, March break got postponed, as we all know. So our March break programs have been moved to April. So you can check out our website soon for more information about that. That should be coming soon. You can register for everything that we have registration for so far at bramptonlibrary.eventbrite.ca. Right.
Thank you, Megan. So let me begin by sharing with everyone a little bit about Job Skills in terms of what we do. So first of all, Job Skills is a nonprofit community-based employment and training organization. We've been established since 1988 when we opened up our doors in Georgina, Ontario. Job Skills has been serving the community for 30 plus years. Our mission statement: Job Skills offers employment solutions connecting the skills of job seekers with the needs of employers to create a more vibrant community. As an agency today, we provide employment, employer, newcomer, and business services and programs across the Greater Toronto Area. During this difficult and trying time, we want you to know that Job Skills is here for you. You being our potential clients, employers, and our community members as we continue to deliver services remotely. Next, please. Job Skills Overview. Job Skills connects to over 20,000 job seekers annually and works with over 2,000 small, medium, and large employers in York, Peel Regions, and Simcoe County. In addition, Job Skills serves job seekers, employers, and the community in 7 core locations ranging from Keswick, Newmarket, Markham, and Brampton in Ontario, Canada. Furthermore, Job Skills delivers over 20 programs and services to assist individuals and specialized groups with job searching through a return to work action plan, individualized employment counseling sessions, starting a business, work experience placements, and employment opportunities. Furthermore, Job Skills supports employers with the entire recruitment process, hiring incentives, job fairs, outplacement services, and specialized services to meet specific labor market needs. Overall, funding is received from the federal, provincial, and municipal governments, the Ontario Trillium Foundation, the Greater Toronto Airports Authorities, and the United Way of Greater Toronto. Next, please. So just in case, if you have family members or if you know people who are based within York region, please refer them to our website. I'll provide that information later on. So let me share with you a little bit about Welcome Centers. So Welcome Center Immigrant Services is a one-stop service designed to guide and support newcomers or immigrants at locations in York and Durham regions. Services are located under one roof, making it easier for individuals to access the supports they need to help with their economic and social and cultural integration. More than 10,000 newcomers receive support annually at the 5 centers within York region. Next, please. Welcome Centers Overview. Job Skills is responsible for providing employment services at each of the 5 Welcome Centers within York region. The following services are also provided at each Welcome Center to support newcomers or immigrants. So some of the core programs and services that we provide are, we have settlement and integration services, English language classes, accreditation and qualifications assistance, interpretation services, and other services based on community needs. Next, please. So I have a poll question for everyone. So the poll question is right in front of you, and unfortunately, we're not able to launch the poll via Webex. So I would just like for you to type in your answers into the chat window. So my question for everyone is this: what is your level of understanding of this topic? So this topic being video interviewing. Would you say that you have no understanding of this topic, or you have some basic knowledge, or you have solid background, or are you an expert? So please just simply type in your response into the chat window. So if you feel you want to number them, you can start with 1 through 4. So 1 would be, I have no understanding of the topic. 4 would be, I'm an expert. So figure out where you fall into this range here.
So one person has said basic knowledge, so that would be 2. Another said
Okay.
3, solid.
Okay.
Another vote for 2. So
Okay.
mix of another vote for 2.
Okay.
So mostly basic.
All
One
right.
person's pretty solid.
Wonderful. So
Yeah.
we may lean on the one that has the most experience, the one that stated 3.
We're coming to you. We're holding you to that.
So basically all throughout this conversation we'll need your support, but I'm glad that we have a diverse team today. So we're going to be learning a lot. Thank you so much for your participation. We'll move on. All right, let's talk about employer statistics just to help you guys to understand the importance of video interviewing. Okay, so please listen in. 70% of organizations who won Talent Board's Candidate Experience Award in 2017 are currently using online interviewing methods. Overall, video technology is being used by 60% of employers these days. Let me explain further. Employers are increasingly using video interviewing techniques as it is more efficient and effective than traditional interviewing style. The number has increased drastically from 2020 to 89% of employers adopting or increasing virtual interviews, according to a study by Handshake. So pretty much this is what's happening, and video interviewing has now become the norm for interviewing. Okay, so at this time, I'd like to just quickly ask in the poll, or through the chat rather. So those of you who mentioned that you've had some exposure to video interviewing, can you please type in the number of interviews that you've had? And obviously, if you mentioned that you have no understanding or very basic understanding, still, just type into the chat window for me to understand how many of this type of interviews that you've done in the past. So once again, so just think of the number of times that you've done a video interview. And if it's 0, still type it into the chat window for us so that we understand.
So we have a 1, 2 2s.
Oh, wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
None, and 1 none.
None.
And
Okay.
I'm also a none. I've never done an interview, a
Me too.
video interview. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ironically, I've never had the privilege to do a video interview as yet, as I've been working with job skills consecutively for over 10 years. So I'm
Well, you'll
very,
be
very
a
proud
pro,
of you
I'm
guys.
sure. Yeah.
I'm very proud of those of you who have actually done a video interview. Well done. For those of us who have
Mhm.
never done it, here's the great news. We will be engaged with it sooner than later. Stay tuned. Thank you. Next slide. So we have a couple of commonly used video styles that I'm going to be talking about. We have the recorded interview, and then we have the video conference. An example of that, which most of you should be familiar with, would be through Skype. Next, please. So let me begin by talking more about the recorded interview and its process. So with this interview style, it's a one-sided interview that is recorded and presented and presents candidates with automated questions for them to answer. Keep in mind that there's no interaction with the hiring manager or recruiter. So it's somewhat one-sided and you're expected to be able to answer those basic questions. Next, please. In continuing with the recorded interview, candidates' responses are recorded and sent to the hiring manager or recruiter for review. The most efficient form of interviewing, as multiple interviews can occur at the same time, and the hiring manager or recruiter has a flexible timeline or time frame for review. Keep in mind, though, that there's no opportunity to ask question during the recorded interview. And follow up after the interview, and you need to follow up after the interview if you want to know the next steps. So the most efficient form of interviewing for both the candidate and the employer would be through the recorded interview. Keep that in mind. Next, please. So during the recorded interview or with the process, there are some key guidelines that I wish to share with all of you. So general process for recorded interview, it may vary from employers and or the software that they use. So step number one, there are usually three basic questions that they would ask pertaining to the role that you're applying for. So you need to be able to share your experience with the employer. So step number two, this is the time to gather your thoughts and draw from questions and responses that you have prepared. And then with step number three, you need to make sure that you have your thoughts together. But if not, you do have the opportunity to re-record, but be aware that your attempts will be limited. And then step number four, move on to the next question, and then the process will repeat itself. So keep these guidelines in mind. Next, please. So let's talk about the video conference. So with the video conference or Skype interviewing, candidates and hiring managers or recruiters are on an online conference call as shown in this visual that you see here. So this could be done through Zoom, GoToMeeting, Google Hangouts, etc. So generally the same flow as traditional in-person interview. Let me explain further. Also known as Skype interview or Skype, was the first platform used for video interviewing. There are many others out there, so remember that the one that you happen to use will be based on the employer's preference. Next, please. And if you have any question for me, please type them into the chat window as I'm sharing. Thank you. So with the video conference, we know that this style is similar to traditional or in-person interview style. It allows flexibility or for both the hiring manager or the recruiter and also you, the candidate. And there's no need for an in-person appointment or a commute to the interview location. So that's the benefit of it. Okay, let me explain further. So you need to make sure that you keep in mind that you need to treat this video conference interview in the same fashion as you would treat a traditional interview. The primary difference is you're online. Remember that. Next, please. So definitely with any technological approach to interviewing, there will be some positives or pros, and there will be some cons. So let me begin by sharing the pros to video interviewing. We know these facts, that video interviewing is more efficient for hiring managers or recruiters. Managers or recruiters are more likely to interview remote candidates, creating a larger pool of talent, resulting in better quality candidates. Let me explain further. So employers can save a lot of time and cost by using video interviews. As we know, it is more efficient and can lead to a better hire. This is why they are moving towards using video interviews more and more these days, as it has become the norm, especially amid COVID-19. Because employers can interview remote candidates, the pool is larger and more diverse. Note, remote candidates are more likely to be considered for a professional or skilled role. Keep these facts in the back of your mind. Thank you. Next, please. In continuing with the pros of video interviewing, we know these facts. We know that there's less pressure for some candidates and because they find themselves in their own environment. Secondly, we know it's more efficient for candidates because there's no commute involved, so you save time, right? Less time is needed for an interview, the ability to hold multiple interviews in one day, etc. So employers can save a lot of cost using the video interviewing. We know it's more time efficient. So some people are more comfortable in their own environment versus going to the physical location and going through the process of meeting with people and waiting in a waiting room. Beware, although you are in your own environment, you still need to behave the same as you were in a traditional interview, or the same way that you would behave in a traditional interview. And your environment will truly reflect your level of professionalism. Keep that in the back of your mind. Next, please. So as I mentioned, there are some cons to video interviewing or some negatives. We know these facts. Candidates are unable to see working location if it is not an in-office position. So sometimes you're unable to gauge the work culture or the environment. If the interview style is pre-recorded, candidates are unable to ask follow-up questions to employers. So questions relating to compensation, work culture, expectations, and perhaps even clarifying questions. Let me explain this further. So it's important for you to do your research on the company that you're applying to just to learn more about the company's work culture. You can use Indeed and you can review or read reviews on Glassdoor, and I would suggest even going onto the company's LinkedIn page. Also, remember, recorded interview, you're unable to engage with the employer or ask follow-up questions about the role and also the company culture. All right, so keep those in the back of your mind. Next, please. And continuing with the cons to video interviewing, we know some candidates are not comfortable commuting virtually or in person. So different degrees of computer skills or computer literacy is definitely needed. Let me explain. So this can become a little bit overwhelming for some people. That's why preparation is important in order for you to increase your level of confidence. Similarly, some people we know are not technically sound or technically savvy. So there are different degrees of computer skills to get online for the video interview. So I would suggest that make sure you practice those technologies beforehand so that you don't embarrass yourself. Thank you. Next, please. So in helping you with the preparation, I have some key tips that I'm going to be sharing in the following slides. So please listen in attentively. So first of all, here's what you need to do. You need to prepare your responses. Treat the interview as if you were in an in-person interview. Also, practice sample questions and responses, research the organization and the interviewer or interviewers, right? And you can do this through LinkedIn beforehand. Be prepared with questions for the interviewer. These are the things that you need to do, okay? And to demonstrate your interest and preparedness, have at least 2 to 3 questions already prepared in advance to ask the interviewer. So friends, remember, you cannot conclude any conversation or interview without asking questions. So be prepared. Next, please. Tips to prepare for video interviews continued. Be punctual, or in other words, be on time. The same rule applies to online as it does for in-person interviewing. So make sure you log into the web or whatever portal platform you're using at least 10 minutes early, okay? And by being early, this will also ensure that you have extra time for troubleshooting any difficulties that may arise, okay? Let me explain this further so that we're all on the same page, okay? Always make sure that you log in early, as you would show up early for a traditional interview. Make sure that you have time to troubleshoot any technical issues that may come up. Being close to your modem will increase your ability to keep a strong Wi-Fi connection. I would even suggest that if you have an Ethernet cable as you're close to the modem, plug it in to ensure the fullest connection. Remember that. Next. So preparing the technology, here are some pointers. First and foremost, as I hinted earlier, test out your technology beforehand. Make sure your laptop, your internet connection, your webcam, and your microphone or headphones with mics are fully functional ahead of time for the interview. Let me explain. Make sure that your connectivity is working and that you're familiar with the software. Your device is plugged in and is fully charged for the conversation. Make sure that you don't have anything else open on your desktop that could open or play. This is really important because even during this conversation, my Outlook, unfortunately, I had forgotten to log out of it or to close it, and it had beeped. So definitely this is something that you want to avoid. I would say that try to close off as many applications as possible and only have that browser that you need, right, open and ready to go so that you're not distracted by anything else. Keep that in the back of your mind. Next, please. So we need to prepare the environment. What does this entail? Let me explain. Set up your webcam where you plan to complete the interview and ensure that your background is clear, clean, and professional. Remember, it is acceptable to complete your interview at a table or with a proper chair, dining room chair, as I'm using today, but not acceptable to complete an interview on your couch and most definitely not on your bed. Lastly, make sure that it is well lit. Let me explain. So make sure you test the lighting with your webcam and make sure the room is well lit so that the interviewer can see you properly. So if you need to buy a lamp, make sure you do that in advance. Remember, it is not acceptable. It is most acceptable to complete the interview from the environments that we've mentioned, from the dining room or a kitchen table and chair. Some software have background blur ability. So if you feel that the background is not clean or is somewhat congested or is not professional, please use a background wallpaper or a virtual background, it is called. Okay? Thank you. Next, please. Tips to prepare as we continue the journey. Make sure you speak slowly as I'm speaking. There's value in it. So there may be a lag time or technical glitches while you're responding, which is really true. So make sure you speak slowly and clearly to ensure that the interviewer can easily understand your responses. Let me explain this further. So in efforts of doing that, make sure you use clear, concise, and basic language that you're familiar with so that you don't get tongue-tied, confused, or even lose your train of thought. Make it sound as natural as possible because you're engaged in a conversation. Don't forget that. Ensure that you're talking clearly and loudly enough into the mic so that you can be heard. And read the interviewer's body language, even on camera, to ensure that they understand your response, right? So some of the gestures that you can look for would be, are they nodding and understanding? Are they making a face to indicate that they can't hear you? Do they look confused? So please make sure that you're attentive to the interviewer's body language while you speak slowly and clearly. Thank you. Next. So make sure you listen carefully and stay focused at all times. As I said earlier, it is easy to get distracted in online interviewing, but make sure to stay focused and listen carefully to the interviewer's questions and cues to ensure you respond appropriately. Let's talk about how you can stay focused. If possible, go into a private room by yourself in order to stay focused. Also, make sure you keep eye contact with the webcam at all times because this will show that you're making eye contact with the interviewer. And remember to refrain from looking at yourself in the webcam, playback, or viewfinder. So at the end of the day, you're expected to stay focused and alert. Remember that. Let's continue. Okay, I think I've been talking for some time now. Maybe this will be a good time for us to pause. And yeah, I'd like to just check in and see. Yes, go
Yeah, we
ahead.
do have a question that came in.
Yes.
The question is, do you look into the camera directly or just face the interview? Sorry, do you look into the interviewer on your screen directly or just face the interviewer?
I would say with the angles, just like right now as you're looking at me, right? You have to make every effort to still engage in eye contact. So perhaps you can angle it in a way whereby you're able to see yourself within the frame, and at the same time, most importantly, you're making eye contact with the employer. Because as I'm looking directly at you right now, I'm actually looking at my slide. So maybe tilting the screen if you're on a laptop, or tilting the screen if it's an external screen, and making sure that the angle is right. It would help you to be able to look at yourself and also the interviewers. So that's my advice for now.
Mhm. Yeah.
I hope I've answered your
Yes.
concern.
Yes, a person said,
Yeah,
thank you, Quadro.
so I'll even give you guys a demo. You see, like this wouldn't be an ideal way for me to see myself and also engage with you guys, right? As I'm looking into the camera right now. So basically, as I'm on a laptop, I can easily adjust and I can sit back. And this way I can even turn my head if I'm looking at multiple participants, right? If it's a panel interview, and still be focused.
Yeah, it seems much more natural when you're at eye level with the
Exactly.
camera. Yeah,
Exactly.
and yeah, just more natural,
All
I would
right.
say.
Thank you.
Yeah. Great. Are
All
there
right.
any other questions? Yeah, so the person just clarified. So look at the camera directly, eye level. Got it. Perfect.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Perfect. Yeah, I don't think there are any other questions at this
All
time.
right. Then we'll continue. Thank you for that great question. Keep your questions coming in, by the way. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the body language because I had spoken about that earlier. So let's emphasize. So with body language, use the same type of body language that you would for an in-person interview. So use good posture. Place both feet firmly on the ground. Make eye contact with the camera or interviewer as I've previously demonstrated. And resist the urge to fiddle or use unnecessary hand gestures, okay? You may be as passionate as I am when I speak. You noticed earlier on I was gesturing. I was using my hands to communicate. So I would suggest to you that if you are like me and you have that tendency of using hand gestures, plant the palm of your hands right beneath the table or on your kneecaps as they cannot see you below the waist, I would say, obviously, right? So just make sure that you contain your hands and you sit up erect and engage with your interviewers. So those are the tips that I can give right now to improve your body language. Okay? All right. So yeah, we can move on. Thank you. Next slide. Wow, now we're talking about something really important. What to wear, the attire. Make sure you dress for success. What do I mean? You should still dress the same way as you would for an in-person interview. A common misconception that people have about online interviewing is that you only have to dress from the waist up. A good rule of thumb is to also dress for your lower half in case you need to stand up to grab something or change your seating position. So friends, always remember to wear your full interviewing attire and most importantly, wear pants because some interviewers these days will ask you to stand up or will ask you to get something. So you definitely don't want to be caught in a compromised position. Remember that. Dress for success. Yes, wear pants. Remember that. Let's continue. So in terms of the audio, preparing for a video interview, this is crucial. So friends, pay close attention. Ensure that your environment is quiet and free of distractions, right? Ask anyone who is in your home to be quiet while you complete the interview. Earlier, I had suggested that find a private space or private room to avoid any distractions, okay? Also, familiarize yourself with the mute button on the software should you need to use it. If appropriate, use headphones as I'm using a headphone today, which minimizes the noise in the background. And ideally a headphone with a microphone for the best audio quality as you're hearing me. Okay, so remember these things. Next, please. Now that we've gone through the tips for video interviewing, here's a final checklist before your future video interview starts. So this list here I've provided to Megan. She'll be sharing it with you. So you need to have a copy of your resume to references in the interview. Also, any notes you may have on what you have prepared to say or any questions that you may have prepared with a pen. Make sure that you're well hydrated. A glass of water will be needed, okay? Final clothing check. Does it look clean? Does it look neat on camera? Right? And are you using neutral colors? Just like for an in-person interview, make sure you wear neutral colors and make sure you don't wear anything that's overly distracting. Like avoid shirts or tops with patterns. Stick with solid colors. Okay, so it could be blue, it could be white, gray, or black. Keep that in the back of your mind. The environment, you can confirm. Is there anything in the background? So once again, if there are things in the background, you can use a virtual background, right, to eliminate those background noises or background, unnecessary things that you don't want people to see, okay? And make sure you remove all distractions. So ideally, I know we love our pets, but see if find a place for your pets, right? Also to avoid external noises for your children, etc. and try to, do the interview in a private space, as I've already advised. Also, make sure your phone is on vibrate or on silent mode. And lastly, don't forget to smile. I know it could be nerve-wracking, but remember to allow your personality to shine and be engaging and just be you and smile. Remember that. Next. So here are some fabulous resources for everyone to visit later on. So you can go onto these website links that I believe Megan is going to paste in the chat window. So you can go to jobhunt.org. Robert Half has an excellent article there that you can read up as well. And Indeed has an article there. And yeah, so go on to these links and learn more about video interviewing. Okay, thank you. So as we are nearing the end of today's session, have your questions ready for us. So before we get into the job skills contact information though, we are a service provider and we have funders, as I mentioned earlier on. So our funders want to know, based on your experience today, have you received the service or support that you needed? So Megan, please put the customer satisfaction questions into the chat window for our friends to respond to. So based on a scale of 1 to 5, would you say that you have received what you needed today from today's session? So rank it and share your thoughts. Thank you. So let me share with you, meanwhile, as you're reflecting, let me share with everyone our contact information. So in terms of job skills, we are here to support you. And as I've mentioned earlier on, our services are funded. So in other words, they are free of cost. We have more than 40 workshops and counting, resources for job seekers, employers, and the community, and they're available through our website. For detailed information, make sure you visit our website. You can call us toll free at 1-866-592-6278. Once again, 1-866-592-6278. You can email us at info@jobskills.org. Also, make sure you connect with us on social media. We are on LinkedIn. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook, and please make sure you subscribe to Job Skills YouTube channel. Okay? Don't forget that. And just in case, next please. Just in case you have family members or friends who are new to Canada, we have information about specialized services and resources are available to support newcomers or immigrants, and they're available through our website, which is www.welcomecenter.ca. They can call us toll free, 1-877-761-1155. They can also email us at info@welcomecenter.ca. And once again, they can join us on social media. So if you know anyone or family members or friends who are based within your region, let them know we can help them. So friends, at the end of the day, here at Job Skills, we help everyone. So if you're out of work, out of school, if you're seeking specialized programs, we have many programs and services available. We have our employment consultant, our business liaison specialist, also our program leads who can assist you in finding work, education or training, or furthering your skills. Thank you. Next, please. So at this time, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining us for the video interviewing workshop. So if you've missed any of the workshops within the 4 workshop series, please make sure you go on to Brampton Public Library's website or on YouTube and watch those workshops. Okay? Thank you so much. So Megan, at this time, please stop the recording and I'll take questions.
All right.